You woke up this morning. That fact alone is enough to shake the heavens with gratitude. You opened your eyes not because you earned another day, not because your body decided to keep going, but because the breath of God still dwells within you. You were sustained through the night, not by your power, not by your alarm clock, and certainly not by chance. No, it was the unseen hand of the Most High that hovered over your bed, saying once again, live. There are those who closed their eyes last night and did not open them again. Their time came, their breath ceased, their journey ended, but not you. You were chosen to rise once more. You were counted among the living, and that is no small thing. That is mercy. That is grace. That is the favor of the Almighty. The fact that your lungs are filling with air this very moment, that your heart is beating, your mind is working, your body is able to function, is nothing less than a divine miracle. The first breath of the morning is not just a biological event. It's a sacred reminder. You are alive because God has willed it. And if the first breath is from God, then the first response must be to God. Before the body moves, before the phone lights out, before the mind races to the duties and distractions of the day, there must be a pause, a sacred pause, a moment of awareness that you are standing on the edge of a brand new day given to you by the hand of the Eternal. And in that moment, the only right response is to give thanks. Not just a mental nod or a half-hearted thought, but a deep soul-level recognition. Thank you, Lord. You've given me another sunrise, another chance, another breath. The world teaches us to take things for granted, to expect the sun to rise, to assume the body will keep working, to believe tomorrow is guaranteed. But heaven does not operate by assumption. It operates by purpose, by intention, by divine decree. And when heaven says, let there be life again in you this morning, it's not by default, it's by design. You are not entitled to this day. It is a gift, a fragile, powerful, holy gift. So how could we begin this gift with silence toward the giver? How could we take the breath of God and use it first to check a screen, complain about the weather, or rehearse our stress? No, that first breath belongs to Him. He gave it. It is only right that it returns to Him in praise. Let the very first exhale be a whisper of thanksgiving. Let it be an offering rising from your lips. I thank you for this day. I thank you for breath. I thank you for life. The breath you take is not just yours. It's on loan, borrowed from heaven. The Spirit of God is the breath within man. Remember the garden? When the Lord formed Adam from the dust of the ground, the man was not yet alive. It was only when God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life that man became a living soul. That same breath still sustains you. That same holy wind still fills your life. It's not yours, it's His. And every morning, He chooses to let it remain in you for one more day. So treat it like what it is, sacred. Don't rush past it. Don't ignore the miracle. Let your first thought be reverence. Let your first word be thanks. Let your first moment be a reminder that your life is not your own. That breath declares it. Every inhale says, He is sustaining me. Every exhale says, I am dependent on Him. And if your breath comes from God, then your purpose must begin with Him. If He gave you life again today, it's because there's something in this day that heaven has appointed for you to walk in. There's a divine assignment, a calling, a conversation, a decision, a moment where your steps will cross into the will of God. But how can you step into divine purpose without first acknowledging the divine? It begins with the breath. It begins with awareness. It begins with gratitude, because the one who thanks God for the breath is the one who walks through the day conscious of God's presence in every step. When you understand that your waking was not automatic, your entire morning becomes worship. The way you rise, the way you speak, the way you think, it all shifts under the weight of that realization. God woke me up. God gave me breath. I must respond. In the kingdom of God, the first matters. The beginning always carries weight. It was in the beginning that God created the heavens and the earth. It was the firstborn who was dedicated, the first fruits that were set apart, the first of the harvest that was holy unto the Lord. What you do first is not just a habit, it's a declaration. It reveals your priorities. It reveals your allegiance. It reveals who or what sits on the throne of your heart. When you open your eyes each morning, you stand at the gate of the day, and what you choose to do in that first moment sets the course for every moment that follows. Order matters in the spiritual realm. The order of your actions reflects the order of your heart. If God is first in your heart, he must be first in your day. You cannot say he is Lord over your life if he is not Lord over your morning, because the first of anything is the most powerful. It holds the seed, the tone, the direction. If the enemy can capture the first part of your day, he can influence the rest of it. But if God is honored in the first breath, the first thought, the first word, then you are placing the rest of your day under his covering, his authority, his peace. There is a divine principle that what you give to God first becomes blessed, and what becomes blessed blesses the rest. The first moments of your morning are like the first stones of a foundation. If they are laid crooked, the whole structure of the day can lean out of place. But if those stones are set straight, aligned with God, anchored in thankfulness, fixed in worship, then everything built upon them will have a greater chance to stand strong. The enemy knows this. That is why he fights so hard for your mornings. He seeks to fill the first moments with noise, distraction, anxiety, and busyness, because if he can shift your focus early, he can cloud your vision for the rest of the day. But the child of God must be different. The child of God must be intentional. You do not rise randomly, you rise with purpose. And with that purpose must come alignment. You don't just wake up and drift, you wake up and declare. You declare that God is first, not just in theology, but in time, not just in belief, but in behavior. Before the phone, before the world's opinions, before the pressure of tasks, the voice of the Father must be the first you seek. The Word must be the first you consume. The Spirit must be the first you welcome. The pattern of the kingdom is always first to God, then to the rest. Abraham did not give God the leftovers. He offered Isaac the firstborn of promise. The Israelites did not gather the harvest for themselves and give God what was left. They gave him the firstfruits, believing that he would bless the remainder. The early church did not wait to see how the day went before they prayed. They rose in the morning to seek his face. They knew the power of priority. They knew that what you do first sets a precedent, and the precedent you set will either draw you closer to God or lead you further from him. When you rise and place God first, you are not just honoring him, you are inviting his presence into the very fabric of your day. You are saying, Lord, this day is not mine to control, it is yours to guide. That act of surrender, made in the quiet of the morning, speaks louder than any public proclamation. It is private worship that shapes public power. When you give God the first, he orders the rest. When you place him first, he establishes your steps. The world will always urge you to begin with urgency, to check, to scroll, to move, to do. But the Spirit invites you to begin with stillness, to pause, to breathe, to listen, to thank, to align. Because what you rush into without God, you will have to sustain without God. But what begins with God will be sustained by God. When you place him first, you declare that he is not just part of your life, he is your life. That declaration in the morning becomes the foundation for victory, peace, and clarity throughout the day. You are not called to give God a place. You are called to give him first place. Thanksgiving is not just a response, it is a weapon forged in the fires of heaven. It is not simply good manners or spiritual etiquette, it is a force that shifts the atmosphere, a key that unlocks gates, a sound that breaks chains. In the natural, it may seem like nothing more than a word, a gesture, a breath of gratitude, whispered into the morning air, but in the unseen realm, it carries the weight of the kingdom. When you thank God at the start of the day, you are not just being polite, you are wielding power. You are stepping into alignment with heaven's order, tearing down the idols of self-reliance and declaring who truly reigns over your day. Gratitude realigns your heart. It reorients your spirit. It silences the voice of fear, of lack, of entitlement, and tunes your ears once more to the frequency of heaven. Where there is thanksgiving, there is humility. And where there is humility, God draws near. He resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. The thankful heart is the heart that understands it deserves nothing, but has been given everything. The heart lifts up to speak truth to one who is unhappy and lacks heart, but has been given everything. It is the heart that knows the breath in its lungs is not its own. The food on its table is not earned, and the mercy it walks in is not a right. It is a gift. There is something about a thankful heart that invites the presence of God, not a forced or mechanical expression, but a sincere overflow from the soul that knows its source. The scriptures say to enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. It does not say enter with perfection. It does not say enter with answers. It says, enter with thanksgiving. The gate is open not by how much you know or how much you've done, but by how much you recognize the one who holds it all together. Thanksgiving is the password to the presence of God. It is the key that unlocks communion with Him. The enemy fears a thankful believer. He fears the one who lifts up praise, even in the valley, the one who thanks God before the provision arrives, the one who worships before the battle is over, because that kind of gratitude is not circumstantial. It is rooted in revelation, the revelation that God is good regardless of what the eyes see, the revelation that God is faithful even when the path is uncertain. That kind of thanksgiving breaks the chains of heaviness, pushes back the darkness, and fills the soul with light. Gratitude shifts the posture of your spirit. When you thank God first, you stop measuring the day by how much it gives you and start measuring it by how much He has already given. The day no longer becomes something to survive, but an opportunity to worship. You begin to see divine appointments where others see interruptions. You find reasons to rejoice in the small things, a sunrise, a breath, a kind word, the peace that passes understanding. Thanksgiving tunes your heart to see the fingerprints of God in the details of life. A grateful heart cannot be ruled by bitterness. Where thanksgiving rises, complaining dies. Where praise is present, anxiety loses its grip. You cannot lift up your voice in true thanksgiving and remain shackled to fear or entitlement. Thanksgiving is the act of releasing your grasp on what you think you deserve and lifting your hands to receive what only God can give. It is the declaration that He is enough, even if nothing else changes. It is the laying down of control and the picking up of trust. The enemy wants your mornings filled with grumbling. He wants your first thoughts to be about what is lacking, what is broken, what is unfinished, because he knows that if he can control the narrative of your mind, he can direct the story of your day. But the believer who begins with thanksgiving begins with victory. That soul has already triumphed before their feet touch the ground, because they have chosen to exalt God over circumstance, presence over pressure, grace over striving. To thank God first is to declare war on the flesh and on the patterns of this world. It is to say, this day will not rule me, I will rule it through the Spirit of God within me. And the rule of God begins with gratitude. It always has. Even in heaven, the cry that surrounds the throne is not a request, but a response. Holy, holy, holy. The angels are not pleading for blessings, they are giving thanks for who He is. That is the pattern of heaven, and it is meant to be the pattern of our lives. Every morning is sacred ground, not because of the sun that rises or the birds that sing, but because when your eyes open, you are standing at the threshold of something divine. The day before you is not just another page on a calendar. It is a canvas waiting for the brushstroke of heaven, an altar waiting for a sacrifice. You were not just given another day, you are summoned to it. And with that summons comes a calling to meet the morning, not as a passive observer, but as a priest of the Most High, ready to minister before the presence of the Lord. The ancient priests of Israel were commanded to rise early. Before the people stirred, before the camp moved, before the noise of life began, the priests lit the fire on the altar, they offered incense, they prepared sacrifices, they did not wait for convenience. They acted by covenant, and you too are called into a priesthood, not by lineage, but by the blood of the Lamb. You have been made a royal priesthood, a holy nation, and each morning your altar waits. Your fire waits, your offering waits. The first breath you take is the match. The first word you speak is the flame. Will you light the fire? Will you rise, not just to survive, but to worship? The bed is not just a place of sleep. It is a tomb that you rise from. And each morning is a resurrection, a calling back to life, a holy invitation to walk once again with the God who calls the dawn by name. When your eyes open, you are stepping into divine appointment. Heaven has already written this day. God has already walked its paths. And your role is to step into it, not with empty hands, but with thanksgiving, with praise, with surrender. The altar is not built of stone or gold anymore. It is built of time. It is built of focus, attention, love. When you wake and give God your first thoughts, you are laying stones upon the altar. When you whisper His name before you speak any other, you are offering incense. When you pause before the rush, when you breathe deeply and say, this day is yours, you are making a sacrifice. The sacrifice is your will, your time, your agenda. You are saying, before I do anything for myself, I acknowledge that I am yours. The morning altar is not about length or eloquence. It is not measured in minutes or words. It is measured in surrender. It is measured in truth. A single moment of sincere gratitude can build a greater altar than an hour of empty repetition. God is not looking for performance. He is looking for presence. He is seeking hearts that seek Him, and those who meet Him early will find Him waiting. He is always the first to arrive at the altar. When Abraham rose early to offer Isaac, he was not just obeying, he was worshiping. When David said, "Early will I seek you," he was not just writing poetry, he was revealing priority. When Jesus rose early before the crowds to meet the Father in the stillness of the wilderness, he was showing the pattern of those who carry heaven on earth. They do not wait for time, they make time. They do not offer God the leftovers, they offer Him the first. The morning is not empty. It is filled with choices. Will you step onto holy ground or walk past it unaware? Will you rise in the flesh or rise in the spirit? Will you open your mouth in worry or in worship? Every morning, the altar is set before you and the fire waits to be kindled. But only you can bring the offering. Only you can choose to make your bedroom a sanctuary, your breath a prayer, your thoughts a song. The world rushes to the day as if it owns it, but the child of God rises to the day knowing it has been given. The altar of the morning is not a place you visit, it is a place you become. You become the offering, you become the incense, you become the vessel of God's presence into the day. And what begins on the altar does not end there. It carries into your steps, your words, your choices. It touches the people you meet, the tasks you complete, the thoughts you entertain. The fire lit in the morning becomes the fire that burns through the day. And when the evening comes, it is not just the end of a day. It is the closing of a holy procession that began at the altar when the morning light first touched your face. There is something powerful about acknowledging the one who sees the end from the beginning before your feet ever touch the ground. To thank God first every morning is to declare that He is not only your creator, but your sustainer, your keeper, your shepherd through the unknown path ahead. The day stretches before you like a scroll still sealed, its contents hidden from your eyes. You do not know what awaits you. The triumphs, the trials, the interruptions, the whispers of grace and the quiet, the storms that may suddenly arise. But when you thank God first, you are stepping into the mystery of the day with the certainty of who holds it. You are not entering this day alone. The moment you rise and give thanks, you are aligning yourself with the one who walks ahead of you, the one who has already stood in every hour of this day, the one who has prepared provision before the need arises, strength before the battle begins, peace before the chaos tries to enter. You are not reacting to the day. You are walking in a prepared place, and your thanksgiving is your agreement with heaven's preparation. It is your way of saying, I may not know what's coming, but I know the one who is already there. Thanksgiving at the start of the day is a prophetic act. It is not just thanking God for what you see, it is thanking Him for what He has already done in the unseen. It is lifting your voice in advance of the miracle. It is praising before the answer, worshiping before the breakthrough, rejoicing before the deliverance. When you thank God first, you are stepping into the ancient rhythm of faith that sees with the eyes of the Spirit, not with the sight of the flesh. You are joining with those who sang in prison cells, who praised at midnight, who worshipped in the wilderness. The morning thanksgiving is also a declaration of trust. It says, Lord, I trust you more than I trust the headlines, the schedules, the expectations, and the weight of the world. It shifts the gaze of your heart. It lifts your eyes above what is temporal and fixes them on what is eternal. It reminds you that your strength is not in your own efforts. Your protection is not in your own strategies. Your peace is not in the absence of trouble. It is in the presence of the one who walks with you. Every day begins with a spiritual choice. The moment you wake, you are either pulled by the gravity of the world or drawn by the presence of God. The world waits with its demands and distractions, the notifications, the emails, the fears, the noise. But heaven waits too, with a still small voice, with mercies made new, with guidance ready to be given, with joy waiting to be poured out. When you thank God first, you are silencing the clamor and tuning in to the stillness. You are entering into the day with peace as your companion, not anxiety. You are clothing yourself in praise before you clothe yourself in anything else. And this thanksgiving, it sanctifies the day. It marks it as holy. It declares that your time is not your own, that your schedule is subject to the will of God, that your priorities are set by the Spirit, not the pressure. When you thank God first, the mundane becomes sacred. The ordinary is infused with divine purpose. The meetings The errands, the conversations, each one becomes a potential altar where heaven touches earth. You begin to walk through your day, not as a consumer of time, but as a steward of it. Not as one rushing from task to task, but as one moving from glory to glory. Gratitude at the gate of the day is also your shield. It guards your heart. It protects your spirit from bitterness, from offense, from fear. It reminds you of what God has already done, and in doing so, it strengthens your faith for what he will yet do. It breaks the cycle of complaint before it begins. It stops the lie of insufficiency before it takes root. It silences the inner critic, the anxious planner, the striving soul, because where gratitude reigns, peace rules. And where peace rules, the enemy loses his hold. You may not control the events of the day, but you do control the posture of your heart. And the posture you take at the beginning often determines the strength you carry through the middle. When you rise with thanksgiving, you are not just starting your day, you are building a sanctuary within it. You are welcoming the King into every detail, every breath, every moment. You are making your day not just a list of tasks, but a journey of worship. There is a mystery hidden in the morning hours, a spiritual secret that the world often overlooks. In the quiet before the chaos, before the sun fully rises and the world rushes into motion, there is a divine stillness that speaks louder than noise. It is in that stillness that the voice of God is most clearly heard, and it is in that moment, fragile, sacred, and fleeting, that your soul is most open to receive. To thank God first every morning is to step into that mystery. It is to answer a call that is older than time itself. For before the foundations of the earth, God purposed that his children would walk with him in the cool of the day, in the early light, in unbroken communion. When you wake and immediately lift your heart in thanksgiving, you are not performing a ritual. You are returning to the garden. You are reclaiming what was lost in the fall, the uninterrupted fellowship with your Creator. Before the serpent spoke, before the thorns and the sweat, there was intimacy. And every morning, you are given a chance to walk once more in that intimacy, to choose presence over pressure, communion over consumption, adoration over anxiety. In that choice lies your freedom. In that choice lies your identity. You were made to thank, to bless, to behold. The morning is more than the start of a day. It is the resetting of your spirit. The world will try to write your story the moment you wake. It will try to fill your mind with headlines and deadlines, with burdens and fears. But the voice of thanksgiving speaks a different language. It says, I am not defined by what I have to do, but by who I belong to. It says, before I face the world, I face the throne. And in doing so, your entire atmosphere begins to shift. Your soul exhales. Your heart aligns. Your spirit stands tall. When you thank God first, you are planting seeds. Seeds of peace, seeds of trust, seeds of strength. And like any seed, what you plant in the morning will bear fruit throughout the day. The one who sows in the morning will reap in the evening. The one who begins with God will find him in every moment, in every corner of the day. The hand you reach for in the morning will guide you through every shadow, every delay, every decision. And when the winds rise, you will not be shaken, for your roots go deep. They were watered in the early hours before the sun bore down, before the world demanded its due. The heart that thanks first is a heart that sees differently. It sees not just what is visible, but what is eternal. It recognizes the hand of God in the ordinary, the beauty in the overlooked, the miracle in the mundane. Thanksgiving is a lens, a filter that turns burdens into blessings, interruptions into invitations, interruptions into opportunities. It trains the eye to see what others miss. It slows down time, not by changing the clock, but by anchoring the soul. And when the soul is anchored, it can endure any storm. There is also authority in morning thanksgiving. It is not only an act of worship, it is a proclamation. It declares to the powers of darkness, this day belongs to the Lord. It draws a line in the sand. It says that your peace is not negotiable. Your joy is not for sale. Your purpose is not up for debate. It is a spiritual act of warfare dressed in the garments of humility. While the enemy lurks in the shadows, seeking to pounce upon your vulnerability at the first sign of weariness, you rise with praise on your lips and disarm him before the battle even begins. To thank God first is to dethrone the self. It is to admit that your wisdom is not enough. Your strength is not sufficient. Your plans are not perfect. It is to confess, I need you, Lord, more than I need anything else today. That confession does not weaken you, it strengthens you. It opens the floodgates of grace. It invites the breath of God into your lungs, the light of his word into your steps, the comfort of his presence into your mind. You do not need to know what the day holds when you know the one who holds the day. Each morning is a divine reset, a holy rhythm beating just beneath the surface of the natural world. The world rushes to its routines, but the child of God must rise to a higher call, not to perform but to surrender, not to strive but to receive, not to conquer in the flesh but to overcome in the spirit. The day may be filled with unknowns, but thanksgiving anchors you in the known goodness of God. It draws you back to the eternal truth that he is faithful, he is near, and he is enough.